Indeed, good morning to you, Desiree, and good morning to the viewers at home. Well, our viewers would recall, Desiree, that the province of KwaZulu-Natal experienced severe weather conditions which led to, the floods in April, claiming hundreds of lives and leaving thousands of people displaced from their homes. And the provincial government, in its recent update, said that they have been able to place or at least over 4,000 of those displaced people to temporary residential units. Where we are, Desiree, we are at Reservoir Hills here in Durban, and we are going to be engaging the affected parents who are saying that it is becoming clearer now that it's going to be quite a mission for them to actually get schools for their children. And I'm now joined by Uweni Gumede, who is going to talk to us about how this whole debacle has affected her. Siswini, sibingelele sikwamukele indabeni. Asikubuze nje ukuthi wena hlasimbe umntwana wakho uneminyaka emingaki, ubefunda kuphi, sithini isimo sakhe?
Uwena Delona, umntwana wami uVuyani Gumede ubefunda eMtapo High School eLindelani, ubefunda ugrade 8, kufanele dise engabe wenza ugrade 9. So inkinga yami angazi ukuthi ikuplazo yakhona njengoba sesila eReservoir Hills laphana besuka eNtuzuma eLindelani ngeenyawo. So angazi ukuthi uzowenzakalani manje njengoba sengila noma kufuneka isikole la futhi njengoba sekulesi sikhathi izikole kuqala ngo-October ukubhalisa ingane esikoleni, asikaze sibhalise, asazi ukuthi sizokwenzakalani njengoba sela.
Kungakanani ukukhathazeka kuwena njengomzali uma ubheka ukuthi njengoba usho ukuthi izikole ngesonto elizayo ziyavulwa?
Ngikhathazekile ngoba next week zavulwa izikole, akakenzeki lutho. Basasitshela ukuthi mhlambe sizobhalelwa incwadi abaka housing ukuthi sifune izikole ngala bazosifunela izikole, kodwa akafika umuntu uLwesibili namhlanje funa bebaqalile mhlambe noma izolo ukuthi besinikeze incwadi besifunele izikole.
Noma ngabe ungenalo inani eliqondile, kepha ngicabanga ukuthi njengomuntu ohlala la uyazi ukuthi singakanani mhlambe isibalo sabanye abazali abathintekayo kulesimo wena nomntwana wakhe nibhekene naso. Ngathi ukuthi baningi bancane kwenzakalani?
Baningi ngoba sixubene la khona abasuka eNtuzuma khona basuka eNanda, mina nje esisuka nabeNtuzuma ingane zethu ziwo 17 ngoba khona kufanele ingene ku grade 1 kufanele ingene ema crash eze high school nje u60 something.
So uma ngabe kusuka manje kuyaphambili lithini lenu njengabazali, yini nifuna ukuyibona yenzeka?
Sifuna ubulungiswa engane zethu zithole izikole eduze nazi la ekhona, zikwazi ukuthi sihambe nyawo zesikoleni ngoba ngesikwazi ukuyigibisa sisebenza abanye abazali, futhi ke ne school fees ke mina njengane yami la ebifunda khona bekhipha 150 lana njengoba khona amakhaladi namandiya izikole zo 1 point something ngo 2000, angazi kuzonzakalani njengoba ngingasebenzi ukuthi school fees kuzoba sokwenziwa kanjani.
Siyabonga khulu isikhathi sakho Siswini.
Okay,
well, there you have it, Desiree. That's one of the parents, Uweni Gumede, who is basically shedding more light in the situation that they find themselves in, basically saying that indeed they are worried and concerned as parents that come next week, their children may not be able to attend school, as there has not been any development in terms of trying to get placement for them at schools around this particular area where they have been, living for, I think, about two months now. Some of them moved here in December, if I'm not mistaken. But that's the situation, Desiree, on the ground. They are basically raising concerns about the issue of their learners or children not being able to find schools nearby here, saying that some of the schools here are very expensive and they are not employed, some of them, and therefore it was going to be quite difficult for them to actually get their children registered. But she's, of course, not alone. We do have also another parent, Uxoliswa, who's going to also shed more light in terms of how she's affected by this situation. Sixolisa sikubingelele sikwamukele indabeni. Usichazele na ukuthi uthinteke kangakanani ngalesimo, bangaka abantwana bakhe kufanele ngabe baya esikoleni ngesonto elizayo.
Yebo ngibingelele nami mina ngoxoliswa kaShazi nginengane eziwu2 ekufanele ngabe ezesikoleni enye befunde senze sihle ifunda grade 7 so manje yokwenza grade 8 high school angazi ukuthi izoshonaphi nayo bese kuthi yesibili iyokwenza grade 10 befunda esondelane eNtuzuma nayo so manje nami ngithindekile kakhulu enhlizweni yami because angazi ukuthi kuzokwenzakalani because ngesikhathi sisuka ehholo siza la sayibuza lento yokukhansela sicela ukuthi singasuki la sibe singazi ukuthi ingane zethu zizofunda si worried about that so ikhansela lathi kuthina ke abaka uhulumeni uthe uzokwenza imizamo khona imizamo azoyenza kuzobhala incwadi ezizofunela ingane ezikoleni es around la ereserve hill esikhona so kwamanje kusathulekile akaze kwenzakale lutho and izikole sesizovulwa asikwazi ukuthenga uniform asikwazi ukuprepare ingane kuthulekile nje si worried ngempela
lithini leni njengabazali kulabo abaphethe iminyaka ehlukene
elethe njengabazali besicela kakhulu ukuthi kulabo abaphethe eminyangweni ehlukene besicela kubona ukuthi nathi ingane zethu kube nemizamo abayenza ukuthi ingane zethu zizongena esikoleni because izikole la into esiworried ngakho kakhulu izikole lana ziyabiza futhi kudingeka itransport ukuthi ingane zesikoleni some of thina sabazali siphila ngegrant just ukuthi sithenge ukudla nje silale silile kuphela asikwazi ukuthi sikhokhele transport asikwazi futhi ukuthi sikhokhe o2000 3000 laba bakhokhe ezikoleni zalana besicela ukuthi kwiminyaka ngakwazi ukuthi ingenelele isisize we need a help nathi ukuthi sisizakale njengabazali ukuthi ingane zesikoleni ngoba ngesithandi masibona ingane sihleli nazo zingafundi because ifuture yengane if sihleli zingafundi iyalimala.
Well, that's the sentiment here, Desra and Naledi, on the ground. Parents really raising concerns about the situation in which they find themselves in. Sis Xoliswa was just saying something very, common when you speak to the flood victims who have been allocated in various areas of accommodation here in Durban. You'd recall that some of them actually refused, to be removed from community halls to be placed in accommodations such as this one, precisely because of the fact that they were saying that the issue of schools is going to be an issue for them come, the opening of the academic year. And that's exactly what is happening on the ground as they are basically alluding to that particular, statement. But also we have been in contact with the Department of Education in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And the word from the department is that they are working tirelessly to ensure that come next week, they do allocate or place rather learners at these nearby schools where they have been making applications. But what is proving to be a challenge for the department is in fact trying to find as many schools as possible for these probably hundreds of the children who are affected, by this situation. But we will continue to keep tabs on the situation, Desiree. And of course, when the schools reopen, we will see if the Department of Education would have been able to place all the learners that were affected by the floods at the nearby schools. Desiree?
Simphiwe, I know it's tempting to only look at the Department of Education at this juncture as we're speaking about education. But just in terms of the multi-ministerial approach to this societal problem, because it goes beyond education, what are the latest interventions?
Indeed, Desiree, it goes beyond the issue of education, as you put it. The Department of Human Settlements, as well as Public Works, has been working tirelessly, throughout this unfortunate incident, saying that the issue for them was to ensure that they find decent accommodation for the flood victims. And if you speak about the intervention that government has been able to make, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, in her recent updates in December, did actually tell members of the media that they have been able to so far allocate at least just under 5,000 of the flood victims who were affected in terms of their homes and houses being destroyed as a result of the floods. But of course we do still have a handful of the victims still staying in community halls And those who are staying in those community halls, Desiree, did in fact say to us as members of the media that they would rather stay there because of the issue of the proximity of schools, and also some of them, having to, attend work in the local community where they are, where they were residing before the floods struck in the province. But of course, this is an ongoing issue in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and it doesn't end here, Desiree, because they have been allocated these temporary residential units, some of them, but the issue of building permanent, structures for them is going to be a mammoth task for the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, and that commitment has been made by the provincial government that indeed all those who were affected by the floods and moved from their places of accommodation will be allocated permanent structures, Desiree.